Everybody, it's Grace. And in this video, I'm going to talk more about those the narcissists that, they make a group up, or sometimes they're not even group, but they follow one another, okay, and they do the same thing as each other does, so that they can get away with something, okay. So there's more and more and more of them who are more people, narcissistic people, who are doing the same thing, so it looks more and more legitimate when it's not legitimate at all. Okay. Now, some would call that group narcissism, some would call it collective narcissism, some would say that it's not either one, it's just individuals who are narcissistic, and just like I said. One of my videos that I used an example of, well, it was collective narcissism, and I used an example of people who claim that counselors they're better than the counselors, and they're not. They're the licensed professional counselors. They say they're better than them because they've experienced something, or they come up with some kind of excuse. Now that's something that they do, is that there's more and more and more of them coming out and say that because they have experienced it, therefore they're better than, like I just said, the counselors, and they come up with all kinds of things that counselors do wrong, and say that they don't do it themselves. Well, no, you're not better at counseling than counselors. No, you're not. Sorry. Just because you've experienced it. There was an actual research, and it was about over 10 years ago when I heard about it, from a counselor, and at my university, it was a guest speaker, and it stated that counselors tend to go into counseling because they've had some kind of problem, like being abused by someone who's narcissistic, or they've seen it when their loved ones had. So they go into that in a high percentage, not 100%, of course, but a very high percentage. So yeah, to say that people to say that they're better at it because they've experienced it, wrong. Okay. One of the things that they will use to justify downing, licensed professional counselors and saying they're better, is to say something like, like some people may have been to a counselor and they didn't like the counselor. Well, first of all, is that the question should be, did you not like the counselor because the counselor didn't tell you what you wanted to hear? Okay, now I knew somebody who was rather narcissistic, but also sociopathic, who stated that went to a counselor and the counselor didn't tell her what she wanted to hear. So at first she said she didn't like the counselor. Then she started saying that the counselor said that she was this and she was that, like she was just too giving and she was too, whatever. When there's no way the counselor said that. Unless, of course, she conned the counselor, because that was anything but like her. Okay, it was like the total opposite of her. But anyway, now in that kind of situation, some would say, well, maybe the counselor was fooled by her. Or, how many of us have been around narcissistic people and they do not come off that, you don't know who they are within the first second that you meet them. Some people that are empathic say that they can tell. I tend to have a gut instinct when I first meet somebody or first see them, like online. Yeah, but no. Okay, let's say, what it comes down to is, so I don't make this too long, is that, I'll get out in a minute. Like me, the counselor is not perfect. Okay, I'm not a perfect speaker. Oh, no way. But, the counselor is not perfect. So, nobody's perfect. We all know that. Nobody on this planet is a perfect being and has never made a mistake, even in their own field of study, even their own field of work, whatever. People make mistakes, plain and simple. Nobody's 100% perfect. So, what people will say, like somebody, like online says a comment about having a bad counselor, this type will run with that. Oh man, they will run with it. And I've said this in a video before. They'll take one little thing and run with it, and say like something like, so the counselor isn't perfect. It's not a perfect being, and so they use that to say all counselors are bad. All counselors do that. You see, all of them do. There's nothing all about any of this. None of it. Not what I'm saying. None of this is all do this thing. But that's kind of a behavior of a narcissistic person, to say it's either all or nothing. And they use a lot of alls when they don't have any statistics that state that, or nothings. They don't have any statistics to state that, but they exaggerate it to do whatever it is they want to do, whatever they want to get. So they use that. Another one that I've heard people use is that counselors actually do seek counseling. Okay, the amount of other people's problems that they take on, of course they see other counselors. And they have to kind of like, it's basically a breather, having somebody else to listen to them, what they go through. So of course they see counselors. But the people who want to use that to benefit them, to say counselors are bad, they're good, they'll use that and they'll say, oh, these counselors, they're all messed up. You see what I'm saying? They'll use that, twist it around to benefit them and say they don't need counseling when really you don't? Let's question that. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, none of this is 100% one size doesn't fit all. Read the disclaimer below this video on YouTube. I'm wrapping this up. If you want to subscribe to this channel, click the circle. If you have a comment and you have experienced something like this, leave it below if you feel comfortable. Like, subscribe, comment, and share if you would on your own social media, and I'll talk to you on another video. Bye.